Thank you, County Commissioners. Let's start off with the recording the attendance. I would like to know that we do have a Commissioner Scott Kramer here. This will be his first meeting. So, Wendy, what's that? I'm sorry, I'm calling the roll now. Oh, sorry. Did I say? Okay, doesn't matter. Ryan Richardson.
I think you combined us. Rob here.
Ryan Bruno.
Here.
Scott Kramer.
Here.
Alan Rowan.
Here.
All right, we have all 5 of our commissioners in attendance. Let's do the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to approve the agenda.
I had a question. Can we add an item based on kind of some recent, I don't know, issues or nonconformities or anomalies, whatever we want to call them, but at the last meeting, there was discussion about like the process for a new zoning ordinance. And then this last meeting, we came to the conclusion that we were going to have 2 meetings a month next year. We're going to meet today at this.
What was your item that we want to add to the agenda?
Discussion on process.
Okay.
That's just what I was trying to.
On the calendar, like, would it be a calendar approval? Like if you,
Well, I think calendar approval is already on there, but just, I would say following documented processes, whether we like them or not, until we can change them or something of the sort. Or a review of a discussion of documented processes or something of the sort. Because it just seems like we come here and we
Okay, but we've got to get it added.
okay,
We've got to
so so I would make a motion to add an article, and we've got our esteemed township supervisor here, so maybe she can chime in on some process. So I don't know if we could add an article 5, articles, maybe it was 6, actually 7. Let's go insert article 7 between the current 6 and 7 to discuss.
let's do it between 8 and 9.
Okay, between 8 and 9.
Yes.
Process adherence.
I was gonna talk about the subcommittee, the zoning ordinance.
Could that be under new business? You think?
that-
Right.
Yeah.
Other business?
Yeah.
We could do that.
I mean, would that,
But I kind of wanted to talk about it before we got to the current Article 8.
can we, is it something, if it pertains to current Article 8, is it something that we can just discuss on Article 8?
Sure, we can do that.
I'm asking, I'm not, I don't,
We could, I was trying not to rehash that way, but sure, so let's just. We'll discuss part of an Article 8 and then we'll do it on other business. I'm good with that. Make it easy.
A motion to approve the agenda as is.
second.
Sure.
All in favor? Yeah. Is that what you were saying? Is that what you want?
Not what I want, probably the easiest way, so let's just.
Yeah. I think we'll get to it.
Since I can't articulate very well, like what the topic would be, that's probably a sign that I should just do it under other business. Sure.
Yeah, I guess bringing up, my opinion would be bringing up an Article 8, and then if it's not covered to your satisfaction, other business.
Sounds good.
Would be mine. Okay, so
So all in favor of approving the agenda? Any opposed? All right, on to Article 7, or on to Article 4, any conflict of interest? I don't think. Conflict of interest?
No.
Approving the agenda. Approving the meeting minutes for December 16th. Discussion and motion.
I have a few changes. I don't know, so I guess chair.
What?
Go ahead. last paragraph of Article 9, following thorough deliberation, member Corstange proposed proceeding with the date schedule as presented. I find that somewhat ambiguous, so I'd say as modified, because we were presented something that the board approved. So,
I'm agreeing with them, but in a different way.
okay, sure,
Modified the schedule.
perfect. Deferring the meeting time discussion to the January 25th meeting, so I think I'm good at that sentence. But then I believe, member Corstange, am I saying that correctly? Said to be held at 7 PM today. So I was kind of confused when today's meeting notice went out stating 5:30 when we explicitly as a commission approved today at 7 PM.
Well, let's talk about that later.
Yeah, like.
Let's talk about it.
So I wanted in the minutes. We
Okay.
can discuss the validity of it. Okay,
Discussion to the January 2025 meeting, agreeing for the first meeting in February.
ditto. Okay,
That's right.
perfect.
So. He wants, that kind of this project. Is that
Okay.
right?
Yep. And then again, if we could somewhere, I just like to do kind of a reflection, because sometimes we'll go back and we'll say, when did we discuss X, Y, Z? There was also quite a bit of discussion about the zoning, I want to use the right words, rewrite. And again, I'm a bit struggling. It's not in the minutes at all. There's absolutely zero discussion about the rewrite. So I don't think it has to be elaborate, but when we spend 15 or 20 minutes on a topic, I think there should be a mention of it. And I'm struggling with this a bit because I don't know if it's normal, but the video of that meeting is not uploaded on the website. Are you aware of that?
Did that end up getting up there? I did notice it.
Okay.
A couple of weeks ago.
So I apologize for my scatterness, but I usually go back and I look at that and like I could not access that. So can we? I don't. I tried to, I think it was under in this same context of how many times we meet a month. I think I kind of introduced it with this having a lot on our plate this year, talking about a zoning rewrite. And you said,
Yeah, I don't remember what about it, but I did say that there's discussion about the rewrite.
yep. And you said it won't be on our plate because it's going to be in a subcommittee.
It's not that it's not gonna be, did not say. that
Okay.
it's not. I said it will be going to a subcommittee that will be appointed by the board. And then it will come to the planning commission with at least 30 days prior to it being on our agenda.
Right.
And that the planning commission will have a full 30 days to review the zoning changes along with the current zoning to discuss it that meeting.
Perfect.
That is what I. Okay. Do
Perfect.
we want that added verbatim? Is that the motion that you're making is to add what?
Sure. Are you okay with that verbatim? Okay, sure.
And again, respectfully, I ask, we're available, you can email us, you can call us, we're talking about, the content of minutes again. Giving this to you and put it written out in a way that would be very clear.
Yeah, but as I've said before, we have discussion like this and we iron it out. To send it to you, then she doesn't understand what I presented to you, and I think it adds more churn. So I tried that once and it backfired. It didn't work well at all because no one knows what I sent you. And then we're editing minutes that no one has a copy of, just doesn't work well.
I just would have done. This is following.
I have no interest in being secretary.
So then, somebody's gotta be, and we only have 3 of you.
This is true. This is true.
So I think you can pray with that, because I do think you look at the minutes.
I do.
Because I agree, it's frustrating, the minutes get changed at the last minute without all of us looking at them, and we don't know what we're approving, because it's not what we got.
Exactly, which is,
That is not great.
I agree, and then, I guess we asked to weave this in as we go, and I think that's part of my frustration at our last meeting. At our last meeting, we received an agenda on the Thursday before.
For an amendment to the meeting minutes, can we stay with the half motion that's on the table? We can discuss it, let's finish your motion.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Um,
Is there any other meeting minute?
that was it, was it?
Okay,
So.
So
from what I understand-
second.
There you go.
From what I understand, we have a motion on the table.
Yep.
To approve meeting minutes as proposed with the language about, the subcommittee added, and is that everything?
7 PM meeting.
7 PM, and that, we accepted the new schedule as modified, not as presented.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye. Oh,
There's no discussion. But that's the whole point of giving a second, so you can finish it. Because we can put a motion on the table in second.
Sure. I thought I was getting pushed to,
No.
okay.
The time before we finalize it.
Well, the discussion was kind of like leveraging what you'd said, the frustrations of we're donating our time and we try to do a diligent job of reviewing what's presented to us, and to come into a meeting and having a different agenda than what we presented is frustrating. And it's happened twice in the last few months. To have, and I think it's a disservice to us. I think it's a disservice to the community. And I also think it's probably an issue with the noticing of a meeting. Our last meeting, we came in, I think there was a 9th item on the agenda that was added between the time the packet went out. It didn't match what was on the website, didn't match what was sent to us, but it was different when we arrived. And I think we need to not do that anymore. I don't know a better way to say that.
I think it goes back to the minutes. If there is things in the packet, that we want more information on, so we did some requests for something, and you were reviewing the packet, and you're like, I really need this information. I think though that it's fair to reach out to Andrea or somebody at the planning department and say, hey, we really, I would like to see this. And whether we get it sitting, depending on the timing, whether it's sitting on our desk when we sit down here, or whether it's emailed out to every one of us, that is something that can change. The packet information for us can be added during that. But the basics of the agenda in the minutes, it's not fair to any of us if we've read that and taken the time.
You're very eloquent tonight. I agree.
I'm done.
and it's only.
Can I just say exactly what she said yet again? Ditto. I'm just.
Is there any other discussion on the meeting minutes? The board meeting minutes,
No.
Right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, Article 6, anyone from the public that wants to speak? Right? I think especially like line for you, like you're hearing out all the public speaking.
I'm used to like the opposite where you're like 3 minutes.
Starting your timer.
Okay. And I will respect it. As a member of the public, I will keep talking and ignore the limit until told otherwise. I just wanted to thank you all. And then also welcome Scott Kramer. I think he'll be a fantastic addition. And then Rob Richardson, you have been a huge help, done some really, especially on really important topics like rewriting the amending the future land use map. I mean, just huge help. So you will be missed and we really appreciate your service.
Thank you.
If you change your mind, let me know. But thank you. There
I
are,
hope this doesn't mean you won't join us between now and March 31st. You're gonna come again, right?
I don't know.
Oh, March 1st. Oh, I don't know.
How many openings do we have? 3, 2.
Oh, yeah, 3 because he's leaving.
Oh, 2 and then another. Okay. Those we'll get those soon. There's been a lot of interest, which is great. But not enough spots for everyone who's interested. So I'll get on that. And then lastly, the main reason I came tonight is because of the zoning, I'll call it rewrite, but how you define rewrite, I understand is debatable. You guys have been doing, there's just, I hear frustrations, and I wanted to come in person because I put on the agenda to have a subcommittee, so not a quorum, but a subcommittee kind of behind the scenes with staff, with McKenna, and then also Andrea, planning director, do the draft, and that includes Scott Rizzi, who's familiar a lot with the existing ordinance, myself, Treasurer Corstange, and then internally, Andrea, Danielle, and I think Jade, I assume. But if there's any questions or concerns, or just because, sometimes you hear one thing and then another, and if I were you guys, I may have some questions or concerns about the process, and I wanted to bring those up before it came on the board agenda on Wednesday.
Planning commission, as I said. It will come back to the planning commission in the process. We will have 30 days to look at it. Current zoning commission to be able to make any recommendation with amendment to the process.
And just so big picture, when we did the master plan update and the zoning map amendment for the master plan, it became obvious or clear that the zoning needed to catch up with the master plan or reflect, the long-term goals in the master plan. The big things I've heard about are, one, our current zoning doesn't allow, the DDA and the whole village, starting with Tuffy is kind of the core, but then try to make a more of a village area between like the library, Tuffy, the river, and then the fowling place. Our current zoning doesn't allow, is too simple, outdated to really do the kind of stuff we want, to focus on like the form, the facade, not simply what type of use it is. So that it needs to be updated for that. Two, it may say preservation or, but the reality is the teeth aren't there necessarily for some of the, if we really do want to preserve more the eastern or southeast parts, that's lacking. And then just some kind of redundancies or process where it's slow or redundant or unnecessary. So I'm sure I'm missing stuff.
There's at least 10, not 15, 10 or 15 specific points that the planning commission has brought to the planning department in the last several years of issues or contradiction maybe within the zoning that the planning commission has requested. So I feel like there's at least 3 pieces to the rewrite. There's the supporting the master plan. We all agreed upon the master plan. We passed it here at the planning commission and at the board level. The zoning has to be amended to support the new master plan, which includes a lot more preservation than what has happened in the previous years. And then 2, the village design concept that we went through that whole process. The village design concept that was presented to the public. There's huge support from all of the public about the village design concept. So the zoning has to be amended to support that. And then in addition to that, there's the 10 to 15 points that the planning commission has made to the planning department. So those, I think, are the 3 big, huge pieces.
Yeah, and what I'm concerned about, or what I don't want is, oh, sorry. So but I know it's important though that that we're not changing setbacks or adding accessory dwelling units and bringing that to without like anything that's different substantively should be, what do you call it?
Main reasons why.
Either in red or highlighted or not incorporated yet, but
That's one
separated.
of the main
And this is
reasons
where I keep
why we
hearing
have Scott
conflicting.
on the thing is so that,
I get what you're saying, and I do, but I feel like,
This is why I'm here.
yeah. But I guess I'm gonna try to go this way and not this way and that way.
You might as well
for-
probably,
for a
it'll
minute.
probably go that way.
It's odd. And I miss my fellow commissioners at this point. So we had, Scott, who's gonna be on your committee, and then Chris, and then Chair Moxley and member Timmy and myself, I believe, and I can't comment on these two because they're here, they can voice their own opinion. I think resoundingly, we didn't like the concept, and maybe it's a word, maybe it's connotation versus denotation of a rewrite, because of what we were seeing. So we heard rewrite, and we're told it's not really a rewrite, it's more of a ratifix and a reformat. That's kind of what we were told.
Yeah, what's a ratifix mean?
Fixing the 15 years. No, let me go 1 minute. Let me go 1 minute. Or I'll lose my train of thought. So we heard that's, don't think of it as a rewrite, think of it as this. And then Wendy came last meeting and said, no, it's definitely a rewrite. I don't know their term for it, but I think there's lots of terms for it. I think at some point we have to kind of understand. And my concern is, I guess I don't care what we call it,
Okay,
as long as we have what you just identified. And I think we've asked for that extensively over and over and over again. And we keep being told yes, and then the next meeting it's no, and the next meeting is yes. Material changes in red, I think, are required because we are the guys or the gals or the people who have to enforce.
yes, and I am not familiar with it. Well,
And I've been on this for 2 years, so
Yeah.
I kind of have a feel for like what the dimensions are, what the setbacks are, and I hear that we have no intention of changing that.
unless we
but-
want to, but we have to be
Right.
not
But
to
yet-
sneak it in.
But yet I would say 60% of what's come before us has been a dipole to what you're saying. We were presented a
What does
chapter
dipole mean?
opposite.
Okay.
We were presented a chapter on ADUs, I think twice. And the second time, Timmy said, let's just shut this down right now. Before we present anything on ADUs, we're scratching that chapter. That cost the taxpayers a lot of money to write a chapter that we didn't even look at. And then the next week we came back and I think the height of roofs were changed. And we asked, why was that changed? And we said no. And then the
Was it,
next week they came back and setbacks were changed. So I hear what you're saying, and I hope what you're saying is true, but the proof has not been in the pudding. Everything that's come before us has been a bunch of changes that we, as I'm gonna use Timmy's words, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. No, 1 second. So, while I'm very supportive of the new master plan, I'm personally very supportive of kind of the, in my view, and I'm probably gonna, against my terminology, going more multi-use. I think there's been a lot of people who are against multi-use, against heights, and I think some of these people are worried that things are getting slipped in. I kind of hope some of that gets slipped in, to be honest. I'm on a slightly different page. But I just think we owe it to everyone to make it clear what's changed. Because I think it would be really embarrassing to start getting cases in front of us and say that setback's not allowed. And then they say, sure it is, turn to page 65 and say, oh, well, we weren't aware that changed. When
100%.
this changed, it wasn't highlighted as red.
So between Treasurer Corsange and Planning Director Hendrick, because I agree with you, I just am not familiar with it.
No, let me say
those-
something.
Okay.
One, if something comes to us that is not red, that has been changed, I personally think McKenna will be held responsible for it. If they are the ones doing these rewrites, that, and I was not part of the planning commission when these things came to you, your examples, any of that, that is absolutely not acceptable.
Okay.
100%. It is to me, it's not fair to us as planning commission members or to the board or to the public, but definitely not to us to not be given those changes in blatant, so we can look at them. Because saying you have 30 days to see it, it is not fair to think that you are going to actually read through word for 30 days and actually know what all the changes are unless they are presented to you in a way that you can identify them.
I would agree with that. And I go one step further and say, not only is it not, you're not gonna catch it all in 30 days.
No.
And you're surely not gonna have,
Let us finish. Go ahead.
and
Mhm.
we surely aren't gonna have time in the way the
don't-
calendar might fall. We
no.
want to have one meeting
Yes.
to
And
discuss
it
it all.
doesn't matter, even in your personal life, you shouldn't be expected to read however many pages are in the zoning on your personal time as your volunteer at the planning commission. It's not fair. So I will say to you that Grace and I have had this conversation in the last week or so. There will be a conversation with McKenna. We have not started our subcommittee meetings. The meeting will start with a very clear message to McKenna that this is our expectation. And this is what we will be presented, or they will be held accountable.
Can we, for
Can
the
you-
minutes,
can you
can we
share that
succinct,
expect-
yeah,
can we-
can we get,
Can we
right now
see that
hammer out the
expectation? That would
expectations
be
real big?
wonderful.
No, I'm saying what you just said is the biggest thing.
Okay,
Any changes, I think that is the biggest thing. Any changes have to be in red for us. They have to be,
Okay.
red
and I'd just say,
line.
I'd say, but
Yeah.
I'd say formatting changes, no, any material substantive.
Yep.
I think there's gotta be adjective
Yeah.
in front of it. Perfect.
And you should
So-
see the existing, what the existing is
Well, it'll be red line.
and the new, okay, got
Okay,
it.
so first of all, hold on, before you go, I want to give you compliments. This is a great way to start the new year.
I keep
I think
hearing
this is
different
so
things
much
from
better
different
than this
people. It's
rumor-
frustrating.
That's what I was
Rewrite,
thinking.
let's move past these fear words and rewrite. Let's just have the discussion. I'm in love with what you're saying.
And
This is yet the
expectations.
next fourth point that I'm agreeing with you. So perfect.
I've got one more that I
Love
want to
it.
say to you about the rewrite word, and I hate to. Just gonna be honest. In the past, when something has come to the planning commission, we have been given, I want a pole barn that's this big. And then it doesn't fit in the zoning. And we have been given a list of 30 other properties, same size, same dimensions that were allowed this
Mhm.
exception to.
Why it's
the
okay,
zoning,
yep.
Why it was okay. And we have had to, I'm saying legal reasons, which you two might make fun of me because I am not an attorney, but for legal reasons, then we would be kind of, okay, this is our precedence, this is what we've done, we're gonna approve this,
Fair
even
treatment
though
of
it
the law.
doesn't, even though it doesn't meet our zoning.
Yep.
But that's what we would.
And you're
do.
not required, we're not required
But
to.
by the word rewrite, this gives us an opportunity to tell applicants, we have rewritten our zoning. We have looked at all of our zoning. These are our zoning rules. This does not fit this, even though we did it in the past, but on this date, June 1st, 2025, we approved new zoning. You can't have your new pole barn.
I like it.
So-
Yeah, you're
so
not
the word
tied to bad
rewrite- no,
precedent.
The word
Yeah.
rewrite gives us an opportunity as well to put a line in the sand or a line in time to be able to say, moving forward from this point, this is current, this is what we're doing, this is where we're making decisions based on these rules, not the old way of how we used to just be like, you can do it and you can do it and you can do it. And now Grace comes to us and we have to do it because we allowed 50 other people with the same lot size and the same everything to do it. So I think the word rewrite has been given to some people as a fear and fear mongering. For me, it is a positive, and that's why I use that word, because I know moving forward, when I have an applicant sitting in front of me that wants something, and Andrea gives me 50 examples of if we've done this in the past, I
Doesn't
can say,
matter.
no. We changed our zone, we rewrote our zoning and you can't, we
I-
agreed to
I
this.
couldn't agree with you more, Wendy. And the only thing I would add, though, is that the best intentions can go awry if our ZBA continues to act the way it
Right.
is.
That is so true.
I'm, again, not a lawyer, but I've tried to educate myself on what I'm supposed to be doing here, and I've been to 3 conferences, I think. And the ZBA is pretty clear cut. Their statutory process flow. Is it self-inflicted? There's, I think, 3 metrics for some of them, whether it's a dimensional variance or a use variance. I think there's the 2 classifications. Again, I'm not an expert, and it's been months, I'm not on the ZBA, but it's very formulaic. And I have yet to see too much of anything come out of our ZBA that followed the formula. It's, wow, it looks beautiful, we've done it in the past, why would we not?
Commissioner Rowland is patient.
That's okay. I'll wait for the you guys to finish their meeting. Jesus
The-
Christ, you
no,
guys.
Yeah. But I think new people, new staff, new appointments, you can't come up, the role of the committees and commissions is not to negotiate with the applicant. It's been, the ZBA is a disaster.
So my concern is, while trustee Rissy was a member of PC, member Corstanch is now a member, but she wasn't before.
But I
don't
was before.
feel, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to be talking here. I don't feel like we have a good representative of the PC on that committee. Right? And
That's a very fair point.
and I think, we're appointed, so we don't have any, and I'm not calling anybody anything, right? But we don't have any politicking that we have to do.
And I do. And also I'm not familiar with the zoning
You
order.
do, Scott does, and Wendy does.
Wendy
Okay,
is above it, but yes.
so she's still elected,
No, I agree.
right? So,
And he raises.
so my point is,
Good cop, bad cop.
you don't have anybody, like, we're gonna be the ones that are gonna be the first teeth to get kicked in. And we're gonna look at it with a different eye if we had a member of representation, and no offense to Wendy and no offense to Scott, but they're not current members.
Question?
May I add
Yeah.
something for you, because it might impact that? And again, just brutal honesty, the township is clearly in a better spot than it was 2 years ago when I started. But I will say that this board, the operation of this board has changed dramatically.
This one or the
Oh,
board?
sorry, commission, I'm
Okay.
using the wrong word. Thank you for
Same
correcting me.
thing.
This commission has been drastically changed. And I'm gonna leave it to someone else. I don't have enough familiar with the old, and I haven't seen enough of the new to say if it's an improvement or a not. But I can document the changes. The changes have been so much like with Wendy coming in, sorry, Wendy, and I'm probably not, I'm gonna open my mouth, insert my foot, and hopefully you'll politely let me take it back out when I'm done. But Wendy came last week and kind of was very matter of fact, this is what's gonna happen. She was kind of lecturing us as a trustee, not as a fellow member of the commission, which I get because she's wearing two hats. So I understand. But I hear more and more of this, we're gonna have this committee, it's all trustees. And this is where I want Leslie to
Yep.
chime in.
She's going to.
The Michigan Planning and Enabling Act makes a provision for a township to not have a planning commission and do it themselves. Am I correct?
Not for a township. If a township has a zoning ordinance, it must have a planning commission.
If we didn't have a zoning ordinance and we relied on the county ordinance, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know if Kent County actually has a zoning ordinance. If
Maybe
it,
they
if,
don't need
if,
it.
if the county does not have zoning and a township does not have zoning, there, it is an unzoned community. A township cannot have a zoning ordinance without a planning commission.
And that
The
would have been, back in the day, townships were the rural country area.
Yeah, it was the rural township. Each different municipality had a different act, and then all of the acts were consolidated into the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. So that there was one statute that governed every type of municipality as it relates to zoning. City councils can serve as certain types of communities can serve as the planning commission for their community. Townships are not one of them.
Okay.
Townships must have a planning commission if they're going to have zoning. However, I would remind the planning commission that the board is the ultimate decision maker on all zoning ordinance amendments. There is a specific provision in the Zoning Enabling Act that provides that the township board may direct the planning commission to consider specific zoning ordinance amendments. That can, so a zoning ordinance amendment can originate at the township board. Then it's recommended to the planning commission for further evaluation, after which it's then recommended to the board for final review. So that is the process that I'm understanding is what is going to be taking place here. There will be a subcommittee that will ultimately the board will direct the planning commission to consider these amendments. Planning commission is charged with the responsibility of discussing them, holding the public hearing, and making a recommendation to the board for the final consideration of approval with amendments or denial.
So perfect. I guess that's a testament to kind of where I'm trying to go very non-eloquently. I just get the sense that there was much more trust between the board and the planning commission when I started than there is currently. And I don't know why.
I trust you guys.
I look at it all as we're volunteers and we're trying to do the best that we can. And if there is this need to exclude us from things like this rewrite committee, I question them, maybe we're the wrong people. Because I think there should be trust, and I will gladly resign and not come back at the next meeting if that helps with a level of trust.
Nope.
But I think we should work together more, and I think there should be less of this isolationism.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that if you want to give us 30 days to review, then it would be prudent to have a PC member on. If you don't want to have a PC member on, then I think we get more than 30 days.
What do you think? Or any thoughts?
One thought, the thought about, me being sitting here. The reason I'm here, I don't want to be here. I'm just being honest. I have no desire to be here right now on a Monday night. The reason I'm here is because I do voice what the board's opinion is.
Well, I get
That's
that.
all. Timmy did not.
Timmy's on the ZBA. Well, hold on.
No,
It's a puzzle.
I appreciate that, but.
Timmy's job
when
is
you-
to
but when
be
you-
on the ZBA to do what the
He
ZBA is
would not,
supposed
but
to do
you-
because the old board member on the ZBA just negotiated.
I appreciate that, again, it's a fine line. I get what you're saying, but I think like when you several times in the last meeting, again, I don't have the audio record or the video recording, you told us, matter of fact, the way it was gonna be, and it was something that we
Give me
should
an
debate,
example.
we should debate as a group.
Give me an example.
Well, I'll give you one because it happened to be one I agreed with, so you said basically, we will meet January 6th at 7 PM and then we'll decide. It wasn't, I propose that we meet on January 6th at 7 PM. Like,
No.
okay,
No, yeah, you're right.
It
I
was a-
didn't
it
make,
was a
no,
statement.
I didn't make a motion, and legal counsel that was at the last meeting should have corrected that.
Yep.
I did not, but it wasn't my decision to meet at 7. If you remember, I wanted to meet at 5:30. So don't make it sound like I'm directing things. It was,
well, you did on that one. I want to make it clear, you did direct on that one. I happen to agree with it, but you
You're right. I
gave in to
should
me
have
at
made a-
7.
I
I was
should have-
surprised that you said that.
I should have made a motion to be at 7.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's, again, I want to work really well together. So you said you're gonna be honest, I just think I think while we're sitting here, you almost need to tell us which hat you have on. This is the point of view of the board. I'm expressing and then now I'm operating as a fellow commissioner, because I think you telling us kind of way it's gonna be, I think diminishes, I think we all have right now, I think there's 5 votes. And I don't think I think each of us have 1 vote. You have maybe the backing or the purview or the understanding of what the township wants, but your vote is the same as ours. And
I agree with you, and I think this is your perception. I think part of the problem is, again, I don't want to be sitting here.
Okay,
And the perception you have is that I am telling you what to do or telling you things or making
that was
decisions.
not my perception. I agree with
No,
everything you said
hang
so
on.
far today, but
Hang on.
if I watch the video, it's not
Okay.
perception.
This is why townships generally don't get anything done. They just exist because a city has,
Hang
a
on, let
city
me
has
finish
power.
my statement.
Okay.
The problem is, the reason I don't want to sit here is because I don't want to be here till 10 o'clock at night, grinding wheels over and over and over and discussing stuff and churning and churning and churning when we're not moving forward and making decisions. It gets frustrating. And I think that has been the history of the planning commission the last several years. And I have no desire to sit here until 10 o'clock at night talking in circles about things. So I think that it comes a point when somebody needs to just make a motion and move forward. And I didn't mess up last meeting and I didn't make a motion, and that is what I should have done. And we did have legal counsel sitting here that should have corrected us. That's why we pay legal counsel to sit at commission meetings. We don't pay them to sit at our board meetings because generally our board does follow the rules and does the things that we're supposed to. We have decided that we are paying legal counsel to sit at these meetings because there is some sort of an issue. We would not normally be, prior to 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, legal counsel was not paid to sit at these meetings.
But maybe they should have been a little more involved.
that-
Not you, but you know what I'm
But it
saying?
goes back to,
The
so
old
again,
firm.
other than that one topic, I think you and I are agreeing on 99.9%. That's hopefully you can see past. I don't mean to be. But I agree with everything you just said, and that what's really troubles me, when I get a meeting notice that we're having a special meeting today at a time we didn't agree upon, and it's turned a special meeting because we didn't approve something, it's like, we're volunteering our time, we are not the subject matter experts, we have staff over there, 2 people from staff, we have a paid lawyer, and we didn't follow a process. Shame on somebody, and I don't think it's on us. How did we not get it done correctly? And how do we have staff and lawyers in the room and we're less effective than we were 2 years ago?
So I guess that begs the question, if legal is here because we did something incorrectly. And that's why.
Are we
they're
talking,
here.
we're talking subcommittee, right?
Yeah, well, she's saying
I-
legal is on
I
the
was not
piece.
at the last meeting, so I have absolutely no.
No, I'm
idea
just
what you're
saying, like,
No, I was part of that. Like,
In
we could
general,
have,
legal is here because the PC committee well, if we've done something wrong or we're doing something wrong, like,
I'm not saying.
Well,
we're
think of
doing
the
it
heavy
wrong.
lifting.
I'm saying it has to do with process, which is again, what didn't happen last week when I was here and I was the reason for it
okay.
no,
last week.
it's
So-
legal counsel's here to
But
provide
you gotta-
clarity
You ought to be able to
because we're
make
doing
mistakes.
important work and we can't screw up.
We had McKenna,
Okay.
Foster Swift, and
Not
2
Dave.
staff members, and apparently we didn't accomplish what we set out to accomplish.
Which part?
Talk about frustration.
The meeting schedule.
Oh, yeah, yes, I've heard about that a lot. And
Let's
that is
get
a
to the
valid,
meeting schedule.
but hold
That's
on,
later in the agenda.
let's just
talk
wrap
about
up.
that
So-
later. Is there?
subcommittee thing real quick. As we're, because this is important for Wednesday, we've got, Leslie, will you help with just, I would say add Ryan to the subcommittee and I'll take the hit at the
I'll
board.
second that.
But hold on, dude,
That-
you can't.
How often are you
That's
meeting?
not,
But here's the thing,
It's
when I-
remember, the board,
It's every Wednesday.
I'm not negotiating. I know it's my call, really. No, the Board of
Correct.
Trustees.
the,
call.
the planning commission,
Four voters.
planning commission serves at the pleasure of the board. The subcommittee is being created by the board.
But I'll say this, I am so, I'm not familiar with it. I hear fair points made and, you know, one thing will happen and I hear two different versions and I'm so sick of it when you know, I hear rewrite your definition, I hear you rewrite other, and I agree with all of you guys. So for the sake of getting us all on the same page and getting this done, I want to stick to the same time period. But if you would be with it, you'd be with it.
I would be, and again, I would offer or tender. Part of why I think you're so sick of it, and I think we're all sick of it, is that we have a failure to.
Well, it's just frustrating because I keep hearing separate things, different conflicting things about the same
You
item.
do, because we operate off the rumor mill. It would be nice, like, when we, I'll use McKenna's example, she's not here today, but I think numerous times in different language, I kept saying statement of work. We kept asking Danielle, what have we asked you to do? Or what has someone asked you to do? We could never get the answer.
Well, now you'll have
It would
plenty of
be nice to
opportunity.
see that statement of work, or what did you call this? You called it, we're gonna have an expectation, this committee,
No, but.
or no,
these are two-
expectation of McKenna, or expectation of
they're two
McKenna.
separate things, 'cause I think originally, when you talk about statement of work, I think in 2020, before I was anywhere near the board or on the planning commission, I think one of the first things that the board did was hire McKenna to do the master plan.
Strategic plan.
The strategic plan, the master plan, and zoning changes to support that. So I think it all falls back into when you talk about their work, that's that. But I
But
think there are
Yep.
expectations which are different.
we want to be thorough, but brevity, but this will give you the, you know, if you have questions, ask, and we still get it done in the time period. I'm fine with that. But then you can hear it, so I'm not butchering the, you know, I'm not the telephone. All right,
Yes,
so-
Please.
Maybe I'm the, you know what? Maybe I am the common denominator of all the misinformation.
I don't know, I'm
Without a
kind of
doubt.
sick of
Not
the rumors
anymore.
right now.
All right.
Exactly. It's like, it shouldn't be this hard, but
All right, so same time schedule. I will amend I'll just mention it, with the addition of member Bruno to the subcommittee. And,
you've met already, or when is it? Like, when
No,
I just signed up for?
It does not. It
well,
goes to the
technically it doesn't
board on
exist yet.
Wednesday.
So the board will approve it on Wednesday. It will be led by, you know, internally staff, not led changing wise, but just process wise, scheduling stuff. McKenna and Andrea will handle that. And then the objectives as we talked about. We meaning you guys. Thank you.
So,
Motion.
actually, I have one more. Maybe it's you two. What did I do? I'm just. Hold on.
This is you.
You, Al, you know what? You're the common
You've
denominator.
been tag teaming. I'm not sure I want to go down this, but as long as we don't often have our esteemed supervisor with us. So you made the comment of, we have legal in the house. And I don't want to summarize incorrectly. So there's legal in the house for a reason. As I sit here and I think back to my previous 2 years, notice I'm not playing the new card anymore. I've been here 2 years. We didn't used to have it, and why is it now required? And is it a good use of taxpayer dollars, when especially we're making as many mistakes, if not more?
I think it
I
is.
can answer.
Yeah, go for it.
I think that we have discussed multiple times how new our planning commission is.
Good.
And I think that legal is here for process reasons,
Okay.
again, which is why I'm frustrated about last week.
Good.
And her job should be to jump in if we do anything really stupid.
I have not seen anything.
100%
at this
what
meeting
that,
Other than maybe some wheel spinning,
Yeah,
but.
yeah.
but they can't
Again.
sue us for that.
And hey, it's time, so.
So is,
So,
That's why you keep your mouth shut.
That
makes
is.
sense.
it does.
so I'm at this point, I'm gonna just totally embarrass myself in front of the new commissioner, but at this point,
And also,
having been aware of this, Leslie has been stellar. From CAFOs to any interaction I've had with Leslie has been outstanding. When we hear that they're on the phone and I hear Leslie's voice, it's like it's under control. I think our representative at the last meeting has made several errors. Is there some way to address that?
Just reach out. We can do it
Yeah,
behind the scenes because I don't know how we do it right
Yeah,
now.
and
Yeah.
that, just on that topic too, I think that it's important, which I don't know how Leslie could stop something like this from happening, but when we have two applicants in-house and similar situations and the planning commission makes different decisions between them with no great reason and the township gets sued, I think that that's also another reason why we have legal.
I think we would have gotten sued no matter what on that, but that doesn't, it's not a
But-
good look.
But again, back to the, I almost want to give you a hug because you're saying like all the right things. But again, it's only as good as the weakest link.
Speak up.
And when the two packets are entirely different.
It's not only the packets that are
We're
tight.
set up for different results. It's like two cases that are so similar and the packets were so entirely different. I think it starts there.
So I disagree that the applicants were similar. So that's why the decision was different. And I'm happy to explain to you why I voted the way I voted on both applications, right?
You're talking about specific one.
That's what she was talking about, right? I mean, I get it, right?
Just talking in general.
And
I'm talking
I think
generalizations.
Talking generalizations.
9.9 times out of 10, we don't get sued, right? I mean, the airport's the airport and I'm more than happy to put gloves on and go toe to toe with them anytime. But this applicant, it's like, you know, she wanted what she wanted and we said, no, we'll give you this, and that wasn't good enough. But yeah, it's her right to sue us, but I don't think we did anything wrong.
I don't either at all.
I
I
don't
just think
either.
when, it all comes down to money, right? And if there's an opportunity and it's just prudent to have legal counsel here. It's not, it's not don't take
Yeah.
it personally. Some towns, I think, a lot of municipalities have them just, at board meetings all the time. The board, just the issues that we hear, a lot of it's like internal process and stuff. It's not, but you guys are literally, approving, denying expensive industrial, there's money on the line. So I think it's worth it. And don't take it personally.
Is it correct to summarize that we have legal counsel here more for our protection rather than we did something?
And
wrong?
selfishly but our means all of ours
Yeah, the
because,
townships protect.
Right.
Yeah.
Including
That's
us.
Yeah.
yes. I
Can
mean,
we also,
literally,
as
you
long as
guys
we
are
kinda have
here.
this kumbaya session, can we also make a pledge to when we are sued?
Yeah.
No,
my
no, we're
husband,
not
I'm
making
quitting.
pledges. No,
Hold on,
no,
hold on, hold
no.
on. When we are sued we can't
To
fix
hold
if we don't know
hands?
what's broken.
Oh, yeah.
So several times now, I believe we've been sued and I hear about it through this rumor mill and then I'm left wondering, so what is the status of it? Like if we are sued and a ruling comes out and says, this is where the planning commission's logic failed or our minutes failed or whatever the failing mechanism or what we did good. If somehow that loop can be closed with us, we can only get better at our jobs if we know what we did wrong.
I
what we
would
did
think
well.
they would. I don't
Oh,
think we
yeah,
did
if we
anything
something
wrong,
in
and
summer,
that's
so-
why we haven't heard anything.
Andrea can handle that. Like, I guess she's the point person as planning director, but yeah, I would be curious too, if, from your perspective,
Less than. I
probably
guess,
limited
just
stuff,
what
she
your-
can't share
what your
everything.
thoughts
Can't share
are,
everything,
'cause-
but
'cause
I
I
know the
think, hang on,
airport.
let's ask,
Yep.
I want to talk to Leslie about that for a second, and I'm just asking.
Mhm.
So the planning commission, again, is different than the board. The planning commission is here as representations of the community, as that's what our job is to be representations of the community, to make decisions or recommendations to the board for what we feel as fellow community members we want or don't want within our community. And then several of these things go to the board and then they make the final decision. So when we are being sued on certain things, would it come back here like under certain pieces, because really the board is getting sued for their final decisions,
Mhm.
right?
It depends on the nature of what is at issue, what the township is being sued over. So if it's a special land use permit request, obviously that was a decision of, I can't recall, does the board have the final authority over reviewing,
The fence?
approving special land use approvals?
Yeah, but isn't it weird that the fence is a special, however,
It's an
Yes.
another reason to fix our,
Yes.
to change our zones.
Yes, typically that wouldn't be something that I would typically see as something that would require a special land use permit. That's a policy decision for the planning commission and the board to determine whether or not that they want that as a requirement of the zoning ordinance. But yes, I mean, the board is directly accountable to the people. It's the elected legislative body. They make the final decisions as it relates to legislative decisions of the township. So when the township is sued on a zoning related issue, if it's something that like a zoning amendment, like the master plan, which is ultimately approved by the board as well, like in the case of the airport, the board is the final decision maker. So the board would make decisions as it relates to any sort of, strategy with relation to that litigation, settlement negotiations, stuff like that. We, as the township's attorney, take our direction from the board. We serve the planning commission as well, but if, we're receiving direction from the board on a particular item, those are the people that hire and fire us. So we take our direction from them. But yeah, it depends on the nature of the litigation. If it's a zoning board of appeals appeal, so let's say there was a variance granted by the ZBA that was ultimately appealed to the circuit court, then, we would work with the ZBA to determine, what was the decision that was made, what findings of fact did the ZBA make to come to that determination. We work with the ZBA to provide the record and prepare that, and present it to the circuit court. And then ultimately, for example, in a variance case, if that was remanded by the circuit court back to the ZBA, we would work with the ZBA to ensure that the process was followed properly on remand. There would be little involvement of the board in that situation unless there was some sort of, settlement or consent judgment or something as it related to that variance request, that the board would have the final approval to, over. The board
Leslie,
has
what-
final settlement.
What's the
approval.
best way? So a planning commissioner hears about, oh, we got sued over that fence. Reach out to the planning director, or you know what I mean? They just,
Yeah, because how
To
much
get
can we
information
disclose- That's
regarding-
what I was gonna say. How
Mhm.
much can we disclose without putting ourselves in any sort of trouble?
and having open, like
Disclosure.
recorded,
Right.
that's posted on.
Sure, well, obviously, the pleadings themselves are public record, they're filed with the court. That information anybody could have access to that, whether or not they're an official or representative of the township or not.
I think that would suffice. Well, if my request came, I don't need to know the inner workings, how the bread's being baked, but I want to know what the final bread was like, so. And I'm not gonna spend my time out there monitoring the court case to look for court filings, but if a court filing comes out and it's in the public domain, why wouldn't it be forwarded to us so we can take the opportunity to learn and see, okay, the judge ruled that.
So
Our logic
after
was
judgment, you're
flawed.
thinking. Like
Could you
after
do that without
judgment,
any
you're-
agenda? Could the staff just give an update to the planning commission?
Absolutely. In fact, I think that at a prior planning commission meeting, it was requested that we provide a copy of the either the complaint or maybe our brief filed in the airport case at the circuit
Yeah.
court.
And we
And
got,
that was provided to the planning commissioner. So certainly, if there's an interest in seeing any of those documents, then I don't see any reason why the
would be-
board couldn't direct us to provide it or
Okay.
provide it
that
to
would
the.
be
planning
awesome. I think
So
that's
the
ultimately
appropriate-
what I'm asking for, because in the airport one, we did ask.
Yep.
Because we'd heard rumors, but again, if it's a public filing, you're filing, this is the township's response and someone out there digging can find it. I don't see why it wouldn't be in our packet saying, hey, you guys.
Well, and not so much in a packet. Maybe
An
it's
up- well,
just
so
as an
here's your
email.
contact
Or
person.
email, sure.
Yeah, planning director, because we don't want, not because of any of you, but just in general, you don't want, you want to limit who contacts the attorney, right?
Yep.
As
Yep.
far as like
Oh, exactly.
non-staff, process wise. So the reach out to planning director Hendrick, if she needs to, she can, consult with legal. But yeah, I think your go-to for information is generally planning director. Just like our
Right, but
go-to
I'm
for,
still not saying it correctly. I even want to go a step
you want
further.
more.
No. Just like you said, only certain people should be contacting the lawyer, and I don't think I need to pester Andrea saying, do we have anything? Do we have anything? I'd like to, rather than pull, I'd like to go to a push system. When they file something, like, I'm guessing staff is on top of this. When they file an answer to why we did what we did and it was correct, I'm assuming they're arguing that we're correct, that they push it to us and say, hey, here's what we just pushed out, so we can continue to learn to get better.
That
Like,
makes
I don't think I need to nag someone to get it, because I don't, at some point I'm gonna get tired of asking.
Mhm.
You have, like you said, you're not
Yes.
scrolling through the.
Yes.
So I've taken up a lot of your time. You guys are, we've had a lot of, Andrea's new, I know we've had, I get sensitive about it because there's truth to it. We've had a lot of turnover, right? And everyone's trying to do the best they can. It's taken a lot of time. I just don't want to lose sight of, despite all this turnover, both at the planning commission and internally staff, we have accomplished a lot in the last 3 years, and it's really important work, and it's stuff that needed to be kind of undone or redone. I mean, I think the airport pays Varnum to watch every single one of these, just to watch. So that shows we're doing important work. You know what
Yeah.
it's good stuff. And also this huge pressure for development and growth. We want it to be the right kind, because if you're passive, this is what we need the attorney. If you're passive in growth, we're going to become Romulus, Michigan, or even, so we need to be proactive. We just need to make sure we're doing it right.
My final point, maybe,
Member Bruno.
if they are in fact paying people to watch this, I think it's all the more important that we look competent.
And I would question,
So if we could make
Profits
sure
of
that we
the-
follow processes and we look consistent and because I agree, we got a lot accomplished, but it seems like we are losing some process here and there more so than lately. And
well, I think it'll be helpful to have you on the subcommittee, and thank you. And Scott, this is a bad example. I don't show up, and usually it's a lot more efficient.
Well, she doesn't show up, but it's usually this efficient.
No, you gotta have
I told
hope.
my wife I thought this was gonna be a quick meeting
No,
tonight,
no,
so.
never, never.
I still have hope, especially once the
Never.
zoning ordinance is done. It'll get better. If not, we'll worry about it. Thanks.
Thank you,
guys.
Supervisor.
Motion on the table, and close the public hearing.
Second.
Is that
35 minutes or 45.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I second.
He did second it.
He did
yeah.
second.
Yeah. We said,
Aye.
aye.
Okay, the next item.
We're
on the
finally to the
agenda
meat.
is the appointment of planning of 2025 planning commission officers.
So just throwing this out here. You got 2 more meetings, Rob, 3 more meetings,
Correct.
so he won't be here. I
4
can-
if we go into in February.
No,
Oh, no, I say 3. I'm bad at math.
I can't be there, so it's you 3. So I really think you should be secretary.
I have no
because
interest in
do.
being secretary.
But you have to be
0.
something.
I don't believe I have to be anything, to be quite honest. I think you can, I think you can not accept, I believe, but
Can we not have officers? I mean, we only have 3 people.
I think your bylaws specify which officers you have to appoint, but again, the secretary is one of those that may or may not have any actual duties because they're delegated to the recording secretary as for purposes of planning the minutes.
no,
The-
absolutely no interest.
I
I don't want to be on the critical path of the draft meeting minutes come to me. Especially now that I'm on another committee, I want to review this packet and come to this
Can we
meeting and
just
be done.
say- I feel like you say that,
But-
but you really you do review everything and
Oh,
you
I do.
do
I
have
do. I don't want to do it
comments.
twice.
No, but you wouldn't have
I
to.
touch everything once. I'm all about efficiency.
I know,
I'm gonna
but see,
review the
you
packet
review
and
it
move on.
before us. You make all of your changes and then they come to them and to the rest of us.
No
You're
interest.
saying that he's already doing it?
Here's,
anyway?
Yeah.
But it would just be earlier.
Here
so
would
then
be my
all of his
question.
Changes would be done before the minutes come to us.
let me ask a
I
question.
tried that. It does sound good.
No, it would
But
have to be.
I sent
No,
changes.
we're
and
looking
those
at the new
changes came
future.
back Different
new
than my
future.
proposal. So I ended up doing the work twice. and I'm
Right.
like,
Have
I don't
to do
work
that
twice.
now.
Ryan, if they redlined the changes so that when you did your second review, it
Oh.
took you 5 minutes to did they change what I
So
wanted to change?
Unfortunately,
Good
I'm
proposal.
monolingual, but I believe in Spanish, it's no.
Okay.
And in German, it's ni,
All
and
right,
in English, it's no.
then I would
And I
anticipate,
can't go to too many more languages, so.
How come you said you have no interest in doing it?
Because I just explained, that I tried the new process and it would be something it was terribly flawed and I'd be signing up for doing it on a twice a month basis and I have no interest.
Okay, so,
Thank you.
so you two, do you want a different position or would you?
I would, consider a nomination for something else, most likely, but
Why wouldn't you do secretary when you do all of this work already?
I can't say it clearly enough. I'm going to say it one more time, because I want to do what I do already once, not twice per meeting. I don't want to do it
Okay.
24 times.
So, okay, so given that, I think that being chair is just as much work because they also review the minutes and do all of that as well. So
I would
think
say
that-
chair's more work than secretary.
Yeah, which the,
Especially when you have a recording secretary.
exactly. So given that as your reasoning then, Alan,
I don't want to be secretary.
no, do you want to, we're going without a secretary apparently.
Perfect.
We need a chair and a vice chair.
I'll do
The
chair.
two on the end. Will
I'll
you
do
be
chair.
vice?
Vice chair sounds like the best of the three.
Okay. All right, I make a nomination for Alan and, sorry, what's your last name? I'm getting confused.
Kramer, Scott Kramer.
Scott
Yep.
Kramer for Co-chair or vice chair? What is
Chair
it?
and vice chair.
Vice Chair. That's my.
Chair for
nomination.
member Roland, vice chair for member Kramer. I'm sorry, they just said that.
I
all
know,
right.
but it's.
I
It's
second.
the Monday after a
Get a name
holiday.
tag here.
Yeah.
Do
you
we
you need
vote?
I second.
We do vote.
Okay.
So second. Okay.
to that slate.
What are the other options? Brian, you really don't want either of these?
I would have been vice chair because I think there's not much involved other than your backup. It'd be like, it'd be like back up to Jared Goff. I mean, Roland is like golf.
I do not
mean,
like golf.
He's not gonna stumble very often. It would be very little work. I would be
Anyway,
back up.
will
Get a
say,
motion and
no
a
offense to
second.
They
Alan.
weren't Patrick Mahomes.
Alan does-
Did member Bruno second that, those two?
Yes.
He did.
Okay.
And then he started discussion.
No.
I would be vice if someone wanted to do it, but I do not want to be chair or secretary.
My only,
Roland's Chair, Kramer as vice chair.
let's just,
Any
I want to
discussion?
discuss this a little bit more. I'm sorry, but I want to discuss this a little bit more. And I mean, no offense. Do you think, and I'm asking, do you think
You
it's,
asking me? or
I'm
everybody?
asking the group,
Okay.
do you think it's throwing a new guy into vice chair? I mean, not that I don't think, Scott, not that I don't think you can handle it. I just. What do you guys think? I mean, it would.
Yeah, I think he can handle it. I think my concern is back to the point of the time or the whatever, all of the things you mentioned about the secretary and why you wouldn't want to be chair because those are the same things. Alan, I don't know what your attendance has been the last year.
I think I missed one or two.
Yeah, so I just think there's a
Yeah.
couple of meetings a year
Okay.
because that's how it is with all of us. that
I
we-
don't wanna pass over him if he, cause
Right,
breaking the
No.
computers, because he's been here, right? And I don't,
right.
but if he wants it.
I would gladly do it. I would be up
But I
for
don't
being
think
vice
it's you
chair.
either. I'm just trying to,
No offense taken there. I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes.
No.
So,
so I mean, I'll defer to the group if whatever you guys, whoever you want for vice chair. I don't,
I defer the same way.
doesn't matter to
Alright.
me. Whatever you,
My only concern again is just the question of when you're not here.
Yeah.
Because, and, I don't know what's gonna change in the next year, and this is not how things always roll, because there's a lot of well, different circumstances that could happen. But in general, the vice chair then becomes the chair the following year, and if, I don't know what would change in the next year for you not want to do those duties, or to want to do those duties in a year. And I think that, you know, Scott has, I'm assuming,
yeah, I just, I mean, the first
Right.
3-4
But
months
that's
of
just
doing
my-
these meetings, you're like, huh, what?
right, but that's just my feeling, and I feel like
Now, we allowed to change
You have.
at any time, we can change anytime, right?
But-
Like,
but-
I would be willing.
You
to-
could amend the motion.
Well, I'd be willing to be vice chair for a few months, in case you're absent or that, until he gets like empathy. If I was in his shoes, like.
I just don't wanna
just know the
overstep
proper
you
protocol,
if
like,
you
I
wanna
would-
be the
I would
vice
do
chair.
it for a few months, and if he feels comfortable at that point, I would gladly.
Okay, but- Again,
I
hang
feel
on.
like
Wait, hang on a second.
So what you're asking is, well, I guess that whoever is serving as vice chair would have to
Resign.
resign as an officer.
Right, and again, just back to what has been said. I don't think that Scott doesn't feel comfortable, just from what he just said. So I think if that's your reasoning, I don't think he doesn't feel comfortable. I think
I don't,
Alan.
and I don't think he can do it. I'm trying to be
No, I know what
sensitive
you're
of
saying. I'm talking about.
Remember Bruno's
I'm
fragile
just-
feelings.
I would
No.
also add to, you know, you have us here at every meeting to assist as well. So if you're, because running the meeting, you're right, it can take some time to understand the flow and how things go, but, you know, we're always here to help, you know, facilitate and assist in the flow. I have definitely attended planning commission meetings where none of the members, all of the members were new and we had to walk through them.
Right,
through it
and
with them,
I think,
so.
I don't know your background at all, Scott, I'm sorry, but if you've ran any meeting that runs through Robert's rules, you know how to run a
Right.
meeting. Yep. That's my feeling. It's not,
I've
He's
been on a
probably
number of
like, I don't
boards.
wanna do it now.
I've seen these things before.
so,
Well, then I'd make a motion to,
we gotta
Oh, we
vote on
gotta-
my.
so we gotta vote on it.
We gotta vote on my motion first.
Wait, which motion are we voting? What are
The
we
one,
voting on?
we're voting on my original
Which
motion,
was?
Me as.
It was
Taylor,
member
Chair.
Young and member Kramer as vice
Vice
chair,
chair.
and that was seconded by member Bruno.
Correct.
If you want to amend your motion, you can, otherwise we can vote on that motion.
So I would amend the motion to
What-
make member
You
Bruno.
you
the-
can't amend,
Oh, you
you
have-
can't amend a motion
Okay,
that
go.
wasn't made by you.
Then we can vote on it.
Okay, all in favor?
I think you have-
I would do roll
Do you
call.
want to amend it?
Is it a roll
You can,
call?
you don't have to, but you can if one of the members calls to do a roll call.
Let's do a roll call.
Okay, and we'll do a roll call.
Okay, Commissioner Rowland,
No.
Commissioner Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Bruno,
No.
Commissioner Richardson,
No.
Commissioner Cortland.
yes.
Okay, so then I'll make a motion to make, can I do that? Make a motion to make, no, to nominate myself as chair and member Bruno as vice chair.
Yes, you can do that.
Can I do that?
Yes,
That's my motion.
we need a second.
Second.
And call roll.
Okay, member Rowland,
Yes.
member Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Bruno,
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson,
Yes.
Commissioner, Treasurer Cortland.
No. Just based on the same thing. I think that if you don't have the time for one, I don't know how you have the time for the other, and I think in a year from now,
But in a year from now, he doesn't automatically get chair.
I know, but I think that
So
it's just.
Correct. And I think the logic is a little bit flawed because I don't think he,
doesn't matter, it passed.
are you gonna read the minutes? I don't think.
No.
Okay.
No, motion passes 4-1.
And passes. So,
And in the meantime, Andrea will serve as the recording secretary for purposes of doing the duties of the secretary.
And.
Okay.
Now, would
Hold
you
on,
like to
hold on,
take
hold
your
on,
seat
though.
right now?
One thing we didn't do though is I'm not the only person up here that doesn't, does anybody else want to be, do you want to be secretary? We made a giant.
Yeah, do you
leap
wanna
of
be
faith there
secretary?
that There's no one else who wants to be secretary.
well,
I don't want to be secretary.
okay.
If it's a yes or no question.
Yes. Okay.
That's fair. Do you want to be secretary till you leave?
No, thank you.
There you go.
Okay, then we're moving on to Article 9.
Actually, member Rowland can probably
Oh, yeah.
step
Gary
in
was
as
like,
chair.
"Yeah."
Let me go back to the front. Okay, yeah. All right, moving on to Article 8, Planning Commission meeting calendar. I think that is on page 12. Now, the one thing I have a question about is the meeting time, right? I know that the last meeting, which I wasn't present, it was voted on to change the time from 7 to 5:30, and I believe the vote was 2-2, which means it doesn't pass. So by my thinking, the meeting should be at 7 o'clock.
That would be my understanding, but
Are we talking about tonight's meeting?
I'm taking about every meeting. I thought that's what the vote was on the last meeting. And again, I wasn't here, but the last meeting vote was due to change it to 5:30, and it was 2 yes and 2 no, which means it doesn't pass, so.
The whole meeting schedule didn't pass, that's why we have it on this agenda.
Well, see, I gotta disagree with that. I think the dates we all agreed on, but maybe wasn't done correctly, which gives me great pause with the amount of staff and lawyering we had in the room. But to go back and revisit that, I think would be using Wendy's words, frustrating, but I guess we can go back and rehash that as well.
I guess are we good with the dates?
I'm good with the dates. I thought we all were, but apparently we're wanting to revisit that.
How about we start with a motion to approve the dates and then we can have a discussion on the
Okay.
time.
Do I have a motion to approve the dates?
Make a motion to approve the dates.
Let me see where the agenda, so are these?
Page
the-
12.
Are these the dates that we agreed to? I'm starting to wonder like what we agreed to
All I
versus what we
looked at
didn't.
was there's 2 for every month and I didn't have a preference.
Okay.
On any dates.
And as a reminder, you can always, as dates come up, if you need to make a change or a shift to this, you can always consider that as the time comes. You can always make an amendment to your regular meeting schedule as necessary.
So I believe I received a text earlier. I think one of our previous commissioners might be on the line, but I did go back and look at 2022 and 2023. And I believe we have some precedent, as I said at the last meeting, of we always do the first and third. If there's a holiday, we tend to shift that, and being cognizant of people's time. I think the 3rd and 24th for February looks good. As I said in the last meeting, I think, in September, it would be nice not to come 2 weeks in a row. I would propose that it be September 15th and 29th. I know Wendy had some issues with that.
What was the thought process between doing it on the 15th and the 22nd and not doing it?
Didn't throw out any dates last time.
Okay.
I would prefer not to have 2 meetings those months because I have board meetings on the opposite weeks.
Okay,
So for somebody who likes to take vacation, I will be missing meetings.
Okay.
So you guys can decide on what meetings you want to come to. It's nice to not have a meeting scheduled if there's happens to be a holiday or something that one's canceled. It gave me a week to take a vacation without missing a meeting, but it was more important to Ryan to have these meetings on the schedule, so that's why they're there. I didn't make any recommendations.
The
on them.
22nd of September wasn't decided upon, it was added in. The bold ones are the ones that were added. in.
okay,
It looks like the reason for that is because of the first Monday would be Labor Day. Is
Okay.
that correct? So that's
Okay.
why there's 2 in a row. I did not create this. I'm assuming that was the thought process
guessing.
behind it. So you could either have 2 meetings back to back, two meetings,
well, wait a minute.
or
Well, the 8th is not Labor.
Yeah, the
Day.
8th is, we could do the 8th and the
Number 1 is
22nd.
Labor Day.
Yeah,
So the 15th could be moved to the 8th
Yeah.
and give it more spacing because of the.
I would
22nd
be
is moved to
supportive.
the
I would be
29th,
supportive of that.
Hang on,
and
wait.
it's 2 in a row
Let's say this
again.
again. I think the 15th was left on because that was the regularly scheduled meeting.
Correct,
And so that's the one that was left on, and then the one.
but that could be moved forward a week and that way it would be more every
So
other week.
September will be no regular meetings, they will. Be
Correct.
put on different.
The 8th and the 22nd.
I'd be supportive of that.
Because if
I
it
have a
was moved to
motion.
the 29th, Brian.
I make a
like you said,
motion-
The 29th would be a week before October 6th. And you'd have 2 in a row again.
I like your thinking. So based on opinion of council, we are separating time and date. I would make a motion that we accept the proposed planning commission timeline in our packet with the exception of the September 15th date be changed to September 8th. So we would have 2 meetings a month for regularity.
do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. Any opposed? Okay, so now we move on to meeting time. So,
I feel a little unusual. I feel like me voting on the time when I'm only gonna be at the next 3 meetings might not be fair to everyone that is going to be at more meetings than that. But since I'm up, there, I do have to vote.
There's a tie though.
Well,
You're
you
gonna be
can-
the tiebreaker.
Or you can recuse yourself. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Are we allowed to recuse ourselves for any reason up here?
yes,
You
don't-
can.
Other than conflict of interest.
I don't believe so, not through our bylaws. I think the bylaws say you have to vote unless there's a conflict of
No,
interest.
you can abstain.
don't think
Let's
so.
let our,
That was something we,
You
That's something
can,
we
you
revisited
can
when we were in the room.
you can abstain. Again, it could be considered non-feasance of office. I don't think that's going to be an issue in which we would be concerned about that. But again, I think we saw at the last meeting, again, I wasn't there, but it was a 2-2 vote on this particular issue. So, and because you are going to be attending meetings subject to this new time or the 7 o'clock time, you know, it still affects you to the extent that you will still be a member during that change or during that time frame. So, you know, I mean, it's up to you if you want to recuse yourself or abstain from voting, but I don't think it's a certainly not a conflict of interest or an issue for you to vote on this.
Since we already voted on it, or they already voted on it in the last meeting,
It was a so
hang
my
on.
understanding is
It-
it was a 2-2 vote, which means that the motion failed. There was no subsequent motion then to set the time for 7. So was the motion to set it for
there was no
5:30?
motion. That's the problem.
Yeah, so then it means that no decision was made. A failed motion means no action was taken.
Okay.
So that's why my understanding is it was set for tonight to make a decision as to whether it's going to be set for 7 or 5:30.
I guess my question is, from a legal standpoint, if there's no motion, then how is there a vote? If there was a vote and it's 2-2,
There was it's my understanding there was a motion and the vote was tied,
okay.
which
so
means
it
that the
doesn't pass.
motion failed.
Okay.
Correct.
So then do we,
But-
can the process be that you keep voting on it over and over and over again until it passes? Or
Well,
is it
that's why
once
we
it
have an
fails
odd
it-
number board.
Well,
That's why we have an odd number,
Okay.
so that we don't have ties like that.
Okay,
I would actually venture that there was never a motion. There
But
was
it-
a published calendar that had a random time of 5:30.
Regardless, I
It's
mean,
irrelevant.
it doesn't
Doesn't matter.
matter
That
at
was
this
right.
point, and that's why I think at this point, we would just need a motion for whatever time you want to set these for.
before you make a motion. So, and I'm asking, right? We've got some people that it's more on the board, that it's more convenient for them if we do it earlier. Other people, it's more convenient if we do it later. Is there an opportunity to find a middle ground?
Why was this ever brought up to change the time in the first place?
I think it's one of the things. Yeah, that's what you said it, I thought I heard it was easier. I heard staff was one thing. I wasn't here. I heard staff was one thing and earlier's better for you.
Right, so, and goes back to the rumor mill. I think that nobody knows anybody else's perceptions or thoughts on things, and that people hear certain things and then take that and get all cranky about it, and I'm not gonna do this because so-and-so wants this or so-and-so wants this. As a board member, I was appointed to this planning commission. If you look at our board minutes, which I had nothing to do with, the meeting that I was appointed, it said 5:30. That was my understanding, was that the planning commission meetings were gonna be 5:30.
Can we
Let me
get-
finish. I get up at 5 o'clock every morning.
Mhm.
I go to bed at 9 o'clock at night. That's 8 hours of sleep. That's when I go to bed. I don't sleep at 9 o'clock. For me to come to a meeting at 7 o'clock that routinely can run 2 to 3 hours sometimes, it is very difficult for me. And my understanding from other people on the planning commission, everybody can make 5:30. If there was somebody on the planning commission that couldn't make 5:30, then I think we would all look at it like, oh, then 5:30 is not a good thing. I wouldn't think it's all about me, because that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is the perception, and that is not what I'm trying to say. But I think out of respect, when it's the opposite end, when I get up at 5 o'clock and start work at 5:30, I am asking the planning commission to consider 5:30.
Okay.
When you talk about negotiation times, yes, 5:30, 6 o'clock, I don't care. I just don't want to meet at 7 and get home at 9 o'clock and not be able to fall asleep until midnight because my mind is still thinking about this meeting. The 5:30 time came about because my understanding, just from the staff within the township, evening meetings have usually generally set times. They're either a 5:30 a meeting or a 7 o'clock meeting. So that's where this 5:30 came from apparently. I had nothing to do with any of this beforehand. Again, it came to the board at our last meeting in December that this was the schedule we were approving. I don't think any of the board members knew or didn't know if it had come to the planning commission already. I took this position and accepted this position with the understanding that it was a 5:30. That's nobody's here's fault, and it's not my fault either. But that's the backstory, my history on it.
Okay. Member Bruno?
Thank you for the clarification, but I do think you just exhibited what you said you don't want any more of, the rumor mill. I can unequivocally state 7 is about the earliest I could be here. I do consulting for a living. My biggest customer is on the West Coast, so 7 PM is 4 here. I can duck out of consulting usually at 4. To be here at 5:30 is 2:30 in the afternoon there. Very hard to do.
Because I know at our last meeting, again, we don't have the recording, but I do think you said, because this is why I said that. You said it's not that I can't make 5:30.
No, I never would say such a thing.
Okay.
Is there,
So any earlier than that, but I come back to, I don't even know why we're on this topic. So as you've eloquently stated, you didn't ask for this. How, and I think as Rob asked, so may I ask how a packet came before our Board of Trustees that had dates and times that weren't run by the Planning Commission?
so I can probably, an email went out asking people, right? Everybody responded. I'm guessing, most people said, 5:30, we can work. And
But who generated the ask is the question.
I think Andrea generated, if I remember correct, the email came from you, right? And
So does
so,
somebody direct you to
so
5:30, Andrew, is that a time that you picked? I just don't even understand. I'm back to Rob's question. Who asked for this? It sounds like.
yeah,
The office, the township office.
So you figured a lot of change going on and it'd be a good time to look at this? Like, I'm just trying to understand.
Are you
When you didn't ask for
concerned
it?
if it was directed by one person or another? I mean, or-
And see,
I
it's-
mean, if staff just thought. it
Well,
was
someone
more convenient for
initiated the
that.
question. Someone initiated the original question.
That's a good point. I guess, I don't know. Just Rob made a good point. I don't understand why we're.
so I guess, and that's great, but who cares, right? That's water on the bridge. Let's move on, right? Like 5:30 works best for some.
I think that Jade wants to respond to your.
Yeah. Jade?
Good evening, everybody. Sorry I'm not there in person. I had a scheduling conflict. I just want to chime in on this particular topic. I was going to chime in earlier, but I thought I would save you guys a few extra minutes. This is something that we have been looking at since I started over a year ago. Every board and commission is asked annually how they feel about their meeting times, their meeting dates. This is not unique to the Planning Commission. I've done it with the DDA. We've done it with various other commissions that were meeting on a monthly basis. We've changed the frequency. It has nothing to do with staff requesting it. It is something out of consideration for the volunteers that we have sitting on our boards and commissions to take a look at and then see what works best for everybody. So there was no ulterior motive in this. There was a question for every single board and commission, including the Board of Trustees, that we opened it up for consideration. So the email that went out by Andrea, yeah, it was directed by me because that was what went out to every board and commission to see what everybody wants to do as far as their meeting dates go. So I hope that, hopefully that clears that up for everybody.
Yes, thank you. So my question is, 5:30 works best for some, 5:30 does not work for you. Is there, and I'm asking, right, is there a time between 5:30 and 7 that you can give a little, take a little? Or is just 7 like, I get it, right? I get it. You're consulting on other.
It would be really hard. I would probably miss a lot of meetings. But on the other hand, I don't think, if the consensus is like, when I pinged you,
Yeah.
it sounded like 7 was good for you. It sounds good for Rob. That's why I was surprised by, I don't want to be the one that screws everyone else over. So
I don't have a dog in the
No,
fight, so I don't really,
if 7 is an issue. I can.
I'm just trying to,
Try it and miss a bunch of meetings at some point.
Can I mention an idea here?
Yeah.
So to me, it sounds like, I mean, the two most passionate people that, from what I hear about the time, valid reasons for their reasoning.
Yep.
But one thing that we haven't discussed today anyway is part of the problem with starting the meeting at 7 is that we'll let it go until 11:45. Like, one way to potentially fix that is, I think what we attempted to do by making sure there were 2 meetings each month, we could have more shorter meetings rather than like a few marathon meetings that go until 11:30 or whatever it is. Because I think we all agree, no one wants a 4-hour meeting.
I think no one wants more than
But
2.
how is that gonna change when we were just told that historically we've had 2 meetings a month scheduled?
So my thought on that was that, as the chair, I have purview over the
Oh.
agenda, right? And so my thought is, if it's just, special use permits, we can probably bang 4 of those out in 2 hours, right?
I
If,
think,
hold on, let me finish. If there's a commercial thing in there, then maybe we just do 2 2 citizen permits and 1 commercial, but the citizen ones always come first. So
There's a problem, though, that we have timeframes that we have to make decisions upon based on their applications.
Do we though?
Ordinance we do.
Do you?
Right now, we do.
Possibly by your ordinance, but not necessarily by law. Certainly not within a month.
Currently, we do have.
because that is something
timeframes.
that, like, if we were allowed to balance it out a little bit better than having, 5 things on the agenda, June 2, and then a month later, we're canceling a meeting because there's nothing. If we could legally, if we were allowed to push 2 out of those 5 things back 2 weeks or whatever, we could always have 2 agenda items every single, every other week, rather than canceling the meeting that's gonna end up being September 8th because there's nothing, but then the June 16 meeting goes until 11:30.
I like where Rob's going with that.
Wait, can I say-
Unlike Wendy, or I should say like Wendy, I have no passion to be here at 11:45 at night either. I like the idea of limiting ourselves to 2 hours.
I gotta make all these appointments. It's like a puzzle, and I appreciate everyone trying really hard. I need treasurer force done at this time on the planning commission, even if you could just, if you could do 6 or something, if there's any flexibility. So going forward, if there's any flexibility to even do it at 6, it would be much appreciated by your supervisor. Secondly, I do see why I didn't realize it when it came in front of the board. I did not realize that the time had already been changed to 5:30. So I see kind of, that's on me, because I would have looked at the packet. But when you take that plus our mistake with the one ignoring the bylaws, but then 2 making the change, that's a really sloppy bad look internally. So it's kind of 2 separate issues. I get why you're like frustrated, especially because at the time I didn't realize that you skip the bylaw, like ignore the bylaws, but also made the change. That's just, no, that's a bad sloppy look. But 2, please try to work it out because I need treasure for sound right now.
Remember Bruno?
Well, again, I'm gonna probably make enemies on this, but I just hear some things that aren't synchronizing in my head, and maybe I'm alone. When Wendy made the comment that I don't want to be secretary because I want to do things twice, she then made the leap of faith that, well, then you don't want to be chair. She's reiterated she doesn't want to be here.
Okay.
No,
I
so
thought
you're
you
asking
said- I
me to
thought you said
resign?
you didn't-
Hold on. Hey,
You can be happy.
let him finish.
I'm just getting conflicting messages from you. So I like I guess, other than what our supervisor just pointed out, I like where Rob was going with it. Like, I can make 7, I could maybe do 6:30. But what's wrong with the concept of 7 having a chair who limits our meeting and we target no more than 2 hours? Would that work? So you're home in time? Like you said, you like to be home by 9. Does that work?
No, I'm in bed.
One
So-
thing I do want to remind too is that, you do have some control over the length of your meetings, but not entirely because you can't stifle public comment.
Yeah.
Or at public hearings, you can say 3-minute max, 5-minute max per person. But if you have 200 people here, everyone has an opportunity to speak. So just need to keep that in mind.
Let's Scott,
Never
wait,
mind.
wait,
Yeah,
hold on.
Yeah.
Point
I
of
was
order,
just-
point of order.
Mhm.
Scott, go ahead.
I would just say not to downplay the items on today's agenda, but kind of seeing
Yeah.
the level of discussion on
I'm
these item agendas, I cannot imagine meetings going quickly. Personally,
They do not.
it does not seem realistic. So,
Rob, you had a comment?
Well, it was never quite clear to me why we can't stop someone. So we had an issue a year and a half ago, let's say, where a team of people came in with a big binder and they said, I've got 3 minutes to talk. Okay. And then they said, okay, minute 4 through 7 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they just rambled for an hour and a half. And there was no legal way for us to shut that down.
Nope.
Send you something, just a Open Meetings Act.
You,
packet.
you can ask members of the public if you are speaking on the same issue or have the same opinions, please have one representative speak, but you cannot force or tell people they cannot speak.
I mean, they literally
They
passed a
can do,
binder.
legally, they can do that, and there's not really anything you can do. And I also, you know, I appreciate member Kramer's comments with respect to, you know, the brevity of the meetings and historically. So just things to keep in mind.
But I think we're back, coming full circle back to the beginning of the meeting. I think we're kind of like fear mongering. I think if you looked back, I can only remember one meeting that ever happened. Can't remember other than that one meeting where the public slowed us down. Where we've had issues was like the Danielle and the, how many stories and fire trucks, and we've set ourselves up for failure. For the most part, our meetings that have gone long have been very ill-defined.
So that's gonna be my task, is keeping on topic, right? Because we have a tendency to, like, right now,
Yep.
right? You know how this all started was me asking us to come up with a compromise, and now we're down the rabbit hole. So
On the
I'm
other
gonna
hand,
be
what time are we at?
kind of a jerk this year, right? Because we need to knock that stuff off.
But
That's,
also,
hold
like-
on, let me finish. That's number 2. We need to stop interrupting each other because we're doing it a lot and it's really pissing me off. So that's gonna stop right now. Okay, no more side comments, like, come on, let everybody speak, okay? So I understand from you consulting, that takes time away from you, that takes money away from you. If there's nothing you can do, I mean, is it possible to do 6? Is it possible to do 6:30? And I will push as hard as I can to keep, I'm trying to be sensitive and she has a valid, and you have a valid, right? I'm like, can we figure something out here? Can we do?
I said I could try for 6:30. There might be times or if you grant an excuse for late, like, if I'm in a meeting, I'm not gonna be able to say, hey, I gotta go do my volunteer role. I gotta duck out of this meeting. I'm not gonna, so I might text you at 6:25 saying.
I understand.
can't-
I get it.
I
I
can't
get it.
get out, but if that's okay.
If he's late to a meeting, he can still join.
Absolutely.
Cause really, let's be honest, the first 30 minutes, we're just approving minutes and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yep, as
but
long as you have a
again,
quorum.
I wanna speak on it.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I do like where Rob is. Again, I think we're fearful of things that aren't necessarily worth fear. We did ramble a lot today and we're at an hour and a half. And we had an open session with our supervisor because she doesn't normally attend and we didn't have much on the meeting agenda. We've covered a lot of material in an hour and a half. I think for my first year on this commission, I don't think we ever went past 9:15. This past year has been a mess. And I think it's because of the ordinance rewrite. And it sounds like that's not happening. We're not going to have those open discussions where we're going page by page, chapter by chapter. So.
I just want to say, I've heard Wendy say, I think that you can't or won't do it if it's at 7. Is that right? And you clearly wanted it at 5:30, and I'm sympathetic to the idea that you joined with knowing what a meeting time was. And that's changing and it doesn't work well for you. All right, but what I'm hearing is if we say it's at 5:30, if we say it's at 7, that you're out.
And if it's at 5:30, I mean, he's got people on the East Coast. Can you do 6:30?
I can do 6:30. I can try really hard to do that.
I mean, there's.
That's decided,
I can't.
it's clear to me. Do whatever.
It's clear to you what? We care. I can't say I can't speak for everybody else. I'm
I
trying
can just make an
to
appeal to you, Wendy, that I
be
can't
sensitive to
give up
you
income
and
to my
him.
family
Yeah,
for a volunteer
it's
role.
the same thing for me.
but-
So I know your needs and your wants are more important than mine.
No, not at all, but
It's
going
okay.
to sleep a half hour later,
No,
I
but-
think versus income to my family, I don't know.
Hey
I
guys,
don't think
hey guys, settle down.
It's not about me getting up at 5 o'clock and exercise. It's about me starting work at 5:30 where my brain has to be working so I can do it.
So,
And I guess this goes back to why, so now I'm suddenly the bad guy, I don't mean to be the bad guy,
Ryan,
but hold on, just man, as Scott pointed out, I took this on Supervisor, Lesbrant's nomination, I took this, it's been at 7 o'clock for decades and decades and
I
decades.
understand.
I feel I have empathy for Commissioner Crostange because she accepted this based on what appears to be an errata on a piece of paper. Had she known it was 7 o'clock, she might not have accepted. So I have empathy for her.
Right.
And that's kind of why I want to know how this strange time came about. Because it set us up for failure.
And that's where I'm trying to get to is something where you both give a little, you both take a little, right?
Again, I can try to get out of work at 3:30 Pacific time, but I can't do it earlier.
6 o'clock.
So, let me hold.
We can find somebody else on the board. They're not gonna agree. Look at this. Look at this. I mean, Ryan, I think you're fantastic. I don't want you to go anywhere, but brevity is not your strong suit.
It's not.
For your best friend. I mean, I think you're.
I
brilliant.
completely agree, and that's why we're looking for a strong leadership. I don't.
Is a time's just a time, it doesn't, can it be 6:15? Cause that puts.
You
it right
can
in the
make it
middle.
at any time you want.
What
You
about
could say it's
6:15? Cause
6:29.
6:15 is both of you are giving 45 minutes. I mean, that's about as fair. I know it's kind of an oddball time, but you're both are. I
Does
mean,
someone want to make a motion for 6:15?
Put it off until I can be filled with other degrees. And
I don't think that's gonna be any better.
I would probably recommend now, just based on what I'm hearing from what happened at the last meeting, we probably should set a meeting time.
I want to say as supervisor, frustrating, I get it, you don't make mistakes, but it's a bad look. If we ignore a bylaw and then at the same time negotiate, so it just puts us, we look sloppy.
Are you guys both okay with 6:15? Cause that means each of you give 45 minutes. And that's about as, I mean,
I love the fairness of it. I really do.
I know.
But I will. I can't say never.
well,
say
cause you
never.
said you were okay with 6:30, right? But now,
I said I would, no,
Right,
I said I would, that would be a
Yeah.
push. I tell you, I'll never be here at 6:15.
well,
You have a 3 o'clock meeting, a lot of times the meetings run short. I can probably duck out by 3:30, be here at 3:15. You just killed the 3 o'clock meeting hour.
yeah, I know.
But you also agreed to come to a Wednesday meeting that's in the middle of the day for the zone.
I don't know when it is.
Middle of the day. I told you it's in the middle of the day.
So I might not be able to do that.
That's why I said it was.
Does the meeting have to be the same
Urgent, so I,
every meeting? Can you be can the first meeting of the month be at 5:30
You
and the
can
second
set
meeting?
whatever meeting time
Be at
schedule
6:30?
you want.
So the first meeting of the month is at 5:30 and the second meeting of the month is at 6:30. There's another.
I just, if this is the issue. We can find different board members to sit here.
Or I can resign.
Okay.
Does someone want to make a motion?
Yeah, well, gosh,
Good luck.
I guess I'm game for that. What about the first meeting is the early meeting at 5:30, the third meeting, the second meeting, or the third?
The third week,
Is at 7? And we alternate? and we try to make it.
I don't think.
I don't think this is, I mean, I don't see there being a solution really that satisfies anyone here. I'll make a motion to have the meetings at 5:30, just selfishly because that's the time that works best for me.
I'll second.
You want to do a roll call vote?
Roll call.
Is there any discussion?
Why do you gotta
Did you
start
say
with
we could
me?
have more discussion?
Start at the other end.
May we have more discussion?
Oh, motion's been made, it's been seconded, so
Okay.
we can, I mean, we can have more discussion, yeah.
Well, I do think that. Neither of them want to. Or are able to. Compromise on the time, it
Yeah.
sounds like. Both have their reasons, they're both.
Valid,
Valid.
yep.
I mean, I know I said this already, but I do think. A major problem is that we have meetings with like 5 agenda items. Like, and not just agenda items, but like agenda items that we're gonna hear from the public about, like. If there were a way to limit that, always limit that, like never have a meeting with that many. We don't need to hear about 5 pole barns in one day. Or whatever the case is, like. That would make it so that the meetings usually are not as long. Now, I know we mentioned that like a lot of the times our meetings are going long because we're rambling on, going in circles, fair. But it doesn't help when we have a million agenda items one week and then we cancel a meeting. We should quit canceling the meetings and balance out. When these people are coming in front of us so that the meetings are all quicker. Like frequent, but quick. I think would make it so. Even if the meeting started at 6 or whenever. It wouldn't go until 9 or it wouldn't go until 8:30 or whatever, hopefully. Or is there a way to? Maybe there isn't legally a way to do this, but like, you know. Have a 2-hour like limit, like if it doesn't come in. Before the 2 hours, I'm sorry, we have to push this on to the next meeting or whatever. Even if that means creating a new meeting 1 week later. I don't know what the legal options are for that, or even if anyone would want to do that. But to me, I know that like. I never liked leaving here after 10, like that always was upsetting to me. Anyway.
Go ahead, man.
Could we try on a trial, but like, so we have new leadership. And we had many meetings that didn't go this long. Can we try 7 and target 8:30? Like. There were many meetings my first year that we were in at 7 and out at 8:30. And then she's home by 9 and in
If
bed.
we, can we
try?
can we
see how it
change-
goes for a couple of months?
Don't talk condescending to me about being home in a bed.
Okay, then you're.
It's the same thing as you leaving.
Okay, so I don't, what term, I mean, then your need is met. Like, can we
Yours
shoot, is it reasonable to do a 7 to 8:30?
thank you. 2 questions I have. Did you snuck over the computer? I did the same thing. 2 questions I have. Number one, talked about members coming in late. And that's not an issue. What about members leaving early? Is that an issue?
It totally depends on what you have on your agendas.
Okay.
I mean, if you have a member coming in late or you have a member leaving early, you gotta have a quorum to conduct business.
Okay.
So if you have somebody leave early and you still have a quorum, fine. If you have a member come in late and you still have a quorum, fine.
Okay.
But if you don't have a quorum, you can't, you gotta either dismiss the meeting, adjourn the meeting and find another time to do whatever items you still have on the agenda or vice versa.
So
Second-
one,
Hold on. Second
Sure.
question I have is if we set a time today and we decide to change it, can we change it 3 months from now? Or
Yes.
2 months from now, or 30 days from now?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know who had their arm first.
Forget your motion in a second.
Yeah, we're still discussing.
Can I ask, clarification?
Yes.
And the supervisor that we serve with the pleasure of, I was somewhat confused. So you made a plea to, try and accommodate, your fellow trustee. But then you made the comment at the end that it looks really bad that we changed the time not following process. So I was a little bit confused by that add on the end. So are you supportive of 7 or supportive of 5:30?
It's irrelevant what she thinks, dude. Seriously, that's the rabbit
This is
hole.
why we have long
Irrelevant,
meetings.
right?
Past the.
No offense,
past
but
the
like-
point.
It's irrelevant,
Okay,
right?
fair.
Rob, question.
So if one of us has to leave, they say it's 8 o'clock, I'm out of here. And now there's no quorum, the meeting's over.
Yep, you can't conduct any business without a quorum.
We end meetings that way every week,
Say that again. Can we end meetings?
could we?
Yeah, I mean, if somebody leaves and we don't have a
I'm
quorum.
not saying you.
Okay, but I'm just gonna say, if it was me, I appreciate the way you worded that, was really nice, but if it is me, I'm not gonna show up to the meeting. I'm not gonna sit here for an hour and walk out of it.
I'm just looking at ways to get an end time. Like, I like the idea of a meeting start time and a meeting end time rather than an open-ended, like we could go till 3 AM kind of a meeting, which apparently we can.
We did dismiss. At one of those meetings, I think it was where they were redoing notes with the lawyer, we dismissed Rob and then I ended up being dismissed.
So before we vote on the motion, would people be okay with putting a 6:30 start time and then we reevaluate it in 60 days or 90 days?
What is the point of that?
Treasurer? Would you be, if I can get the meetings moving and get you out and get us out of here at 8:30? I mean, I'm trying to,
No, I know, I don't understand, because a few minutes ago, 6:30 was not appropriate.
well, I'd like to do 6:15 because that puts it right in the middle, right? And it's, everybody gets
I
45
think
minutes.
6:30 has been an option several times, I think.
6:30, yeah.
6:30 has been an option several times. But I'll do my best to get here and I might have to give him a late notice. And he said he was okay with that.
Would other people be okay with 6:30? Welcome to the planning commission. It's not usually this bad.
A minute ago, you told me.
So my comment really, I mean, if I have to make a comment at this point, I start work early, I work late every night, so, I mean, my preference would be to get in here about 5:30 and to hopefully not go till 10 o'clock at night when we start at 5:30. I don't know anybody on this panel. I value everybody's opinion. People clearly have different skill sets than I do. I value that. I think it's important for this commission. Though I appreciate the voice of Wendy, just in our discussions today, and candidly, like, I mean, just, I'm not trying to draw lines in the sand or pick favorites, but like, I don't want to lose her over this vote just based on my read of the room today, really. So, those are my comments.
Okay. Do we want to do a roll call vote? I want a roll call vote.
But what is the motion?
The motion is 5:30. So. Wendy?
Yes.
Rob? Vote, dude.
To start at 5:30.
Start at 5:30.
I mean, I feel, again, bad voting for this if I'm not gonna be here in 7 weeks or whatever.
Doesn't matter. What's your vote?
6.
So
You got a
no.
yes or
So that's a
no?
no, right? What-
How about we do the roll call going this way?
Cause I'm the chair. We're starting down there.
And you said I can abstain from this vote?
No,
You can abstain. But if it's a tie vote, then you're gonna need to make a vote.
I mean, I just don't feel like it's fair for me to vote on this, honestly, because it affects you two way more than it affects me. I like you both. I value both of your reasons for wanting it the way you want it, and I can't vote on that. All right.
So that's an abstain. Right? Wait a minute, say it,
Abstain.
So just for clarification, no to 5:30.
okay?
Yes.
No. So now you have to vote. That, well, even if he doesn't, it didn't pass because it's 2-2, right? So,
Well, that's, puts me in an even worse.
right, so
So is there another motion
is
then?
there another motion besides 5:30?
I'll try to, I guess it wasn't clear earlier that I offered 6:30, so I will make a motion to move our meeting time up a half an hour to 6:30.
Do you have a, was there a second?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Was there a second? Good call. Good catch. Preemptive. Did anybody second the motion?
Can I go back, voting procedures in our ordinance, in our actual ordinance, we kind of have to make sure before this is done. All members present are required to vote unless excused for reason of a conflict of interest. Voting shall be by voice vote and shall be recorded at the number, as the number in support and number opposition. Abstention for conflict of interest shall be noted. I don't know that that's a conflict of interest or that.
Again, I mean, he can abstain, it's just nonfeasance of office.
Yeah.
Is-
Irrelevant, totally irrelevant. You want to go in with the board.
Okay, so the motion is 6:30. Do we have a second? 6:30, right? Correct?
Within 15 minutes in the middle. You want 6:15?
Dude, it's the,
So make the motion.
all right, I'll make a motion for 6:15. It puts it in the middle and it's crappy, but it's crappy for both and it's equally crappy.
So it should be noted in the minutes that the motion for 6:30 failed for lack of support. There's now a motion on the floor for 6:15. Is there a second for that?
Second.
Wendy?
Want to start somewhere else?
Okay, we'll start at me. Yes.
I guess I'll go yes.
It's such a screwed up thing.
I know.
I gotta be consistent. I'm gonna say no. I can't.
All right, let's finish the vote on this though. Okay, so we have a yes, a no, a member Richardson.
I think it looks more typical to have a meeting start time at 6 rather than 6:15.
Okay, we
So
need
that's a
to
no.
finish the vote on the
So
6:15.
we got a yes or a no?
What?
Was it
We
yes
have
or
a
no?
motion on the floor
I
for
know what you're
6:15.
Okay.
Yeah, so you got to vote yes or no.
6:15? Sure, yes.
Okay, and then treasurer Corson.
So.
It passed.
Okay, so it passes at 6:15 unless, you know, you want to.
But we can change it at any time.
Do you guys
correct?
want to? Can we do another motion to change it to 6? If that's something, I don't care. I'm just either 6 or 6:15, pick a number. I don't care. You guys don't like 6:15, then 6. I don't care.
6:15 just looks like
better
a
than 6.
typo, like if I were looking at a website and I said, the meeting starts at 6:15, I would think that can't be possibly correct. I don't know why, it just seems wrong.
I'm good with 6.
It doesn't bother me either way, like I said.
Okay.
so.
We can reevaluate this at any time. I don't need to put that in the,
As long as there is an updated notice posted, reflecting the change in the regular meeting date and schedule time.
Well, are you not gonna be able to make it?
I feel like
Can we do another motion? Motion to start at 6.
anybody second that motion?
Well, I would second that.
Okay. Motion's at 6, second,
yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
yes. Although I could have said no, it would have passed anyways.
Well, it passed with more support than the 6:15, so I would defer to that.
I don't, I'm trying to make two people happy and.
You can reevaluate that at any time as long as proper notices are posted pursuant to the Open Meetings
So to
Act.
clarify, the new schedule is starting at 6.
That's what was passed, the most recent motion passed.
So then we should, are we to new business?
Yes.
Okay, so as long as we're here voting for, so we need a new vice chair, because I'm thinking I'm gonna resign. I don't think I can make 6 regularly.
I don't think we can replace you until you. Sorry, Alan.
Well, first of all, we have to acknowledge any visitors wishing to speak. That's Article 9. Oh, and then other business is Member Bruno is now resigning as vice chair. So now we need to re-vote on a vice chair. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes,
I believe so.
Okay. Do we have,
I'll make a motion for Dr. Scott.
okay.
all right. We need a roll call? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Oh, God. I'm gonna resign now too. Article 11. Yeah, wait a minute, new business, any other new business?
Not necessarily new business, but I would just like to point out 2 things that I've noticed in the last 2 years as part of this commission that have been made clear, but then made unclear over and over. Precedent is not something that we as a commission need to deal with. Each issue that's brought in front of us is to be treated as its own new, unique, separate thing. If it fit clearly into the categories already defined by our zoning rules, et cetera, it wouldn't have made it here. So when we get a packet that says, you know, person X wants this, and then here's 30 other examples that are totally different from that, but it could be read as being similar. Having those in the packet is not helpful for us, I feel, because we're not trying to look at precedent. We're trying to evaluate each case as its own unique individual thing. That's my opinion, but I also believe it's true. Then the second thing I wanted to mention is that when we hire someone like McKenna, or maybe not us as a commission, but when the township, when I say we, I mean the township. When the township hires anyone and they have clear goals in mind, that hired person can't then turn around and say, well, I'm used to working with Walker and Kentwood in places that want booming growth. So I'm gonna slip in whatever I'm used to slipping in. When we as a township are looking more for preservation than growth, like we can't have the people that we're paying to write for us, to write whatever they want. And then we have to constantly re-edit it over and over and over and over, because we're not trying to have bus routes out to Grand Valley or whatever Walker's doing. It's not about Walker. This is an example. And this seems to be something that's happening a lot here, where the people that we've paid to work for us are used to thinking growth is the goal. Whereas every single person in our township, well, not every single person, the majority of the people in our township seem to not think growth is the goal. And we need to rein that in somehow. That's a thing.
Okay. The one thing I'd like to bring up, 2 things I'd like to bring up. Number one, I like the way, Andrea, you prepare your packets, but sometimes when other people within the township prepare certain agenda items or article items, they don't add some of that stuff that you have in, like the language of yay or nay. So I'd like us to pick a format and stick with that format and make sure that if you don't do it, somebody else is doing it, that they follow your format. And this isn't on you. I'm saying it's on like when Danielle prepares something, it's completely different format than when you, and we just need a consistent format. So I'd like that to happen. Number 2, I don't know who I need to talk to or what we need to change, if we need to change something within the PUD, whatever, but when we need to increase the notification distance, right? And we talked about that. So I don't, tell me what we need to do, but I want that to happen. We need, if a commercial item is going on, we need to broaden that net so that more residents of the township are aware of it, so we can get more feedback from them. I think 300 feet is far not enough distance. Residential stuff, I mean, as far, I don't know what the distance is on that, but I think 300 feet is probably okay on that, but on the commercial stuff, we definitely, I'd like to, yeah, yep, yep, yep.
Or changes to, or just new. Anything that comes to us would be a big change.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think anything that comes to us, I think, because right now it's like 300 feet. That's ridiculous. And people, we've talked about that before, like people are like, hey, we just heard about this. This is, and I live across the street. So I want to make that bigger, right? Because for one, am pro-business, but I serve the citizens first, right? Right, but we serve the citizens first, right? And it's important that we get their feedback, I think, so.
That's true, because even if you don't live near there, it affects our community.
Right, well, I live a block away and the traffic's gonna, we need to hear it.
I'm not sure how,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not sure how 300 feet would ever be sufficient. I mean, the property in between ours could be more than 300 feet wide.
So maybe we extend the residential stuff too, I don't,
A mile, 3 miles.
So-
6 miles.
The zoning ordinance matches the exact language of the zoning enabling act that requires that you notice 300 feet.
But we
That's
can
just-
go more than
Right.
that.
You can go more.
3 miles.
Notice every resident.
Every single property.
But again,
within 3
talking about meeting lengths, the more residents that we notice, the more
Right.
they're gonna show up here.
right. What do you guys
Not 3
think?
miles in a circle, 3 miles in Cascade.
What do you think a good distance would be?
I think residential should be less, I don't know, 300 feet does not seem very much.
That's 100 yards
That does not seem like a lot
for residential.
for residential. I do think that needs to be a little bigger, but I don't know. not very
Yeah, because
much.
what's like the minimum lot in our town, like in R2, it's like 100 foot, like a lot.
Yeah.
So basically you're doing your neighbor and their neighbor, that's not much, like
So-
your
so-
whole street should be notified.
If we double it to, and I'm asking 600 feet, so that's 2 football field radius for residential and 4 football fields.
No,
So,
I think.
3. Yeah,
I mean, why not?
Everybody know.
And why is it a distance? But like really, Scott's gonna like, mine's gonna blow because I'm gonna go off in the weeds again, but why isn't it everybody on that street?
Yeah,
Like, well, why is it a distance?
on the
Well, she
street,
said that was
like-
the minimum. That
Yeah,
300
but-
Well, but I'd
feet
want
is
people
a
But what if we
behind
change
it
the
too.
mode?
Crazy low limit.
Sure, so it's,
But I
it's,
agree with what he's saying too, when it comes to, when we're getting, this is something that has to go to the zoning stuff, right?
Yeah.
I
But she
think
can
it's
take
okay.
notes, right?
But I do think when we talk about streets, like I think my street, I live on a cul-de-sac, so yeah, I would want to know everything going on my street because it's a small cul-de-sac.
exactly.
But, Cascade Road at the end of the street, I don't need to know everything goes on Cascade Road. I'd rather know just 300 feet or whatever.
So let's
you know?
split, let's just give me a sec, split it, right? Residential, are we good with 600 feet? Does that seem 600 foot radius?
No, I'm not.
You want more?
Way more.
So, but back to keeping things on track, I think you're wanting this to become a topic at a future meeting. We're not gonna have a
Well,
whole
we
meeting
can, we
now.
can give her direction now and she
It's gonna-
can,
It'll come back.
It'll come back, yeah. I
Yeah,
think-
this is something that will probably be part of the subcommittee's discussion and the
all right, so we
overall.
don't have to, we don't have to.
No,
come on it now.
no.
Okay,
I think
let's
that,
get
I
that
think
right.
you would say this is, make a note for Andrea to have that be a topic of discussion at the subcommittee.
I thought we could
meetings.
give her that now and she can, because we do the
You're-
minimum, but then we have
It's
our
gonna
own.
come back to you anyway when you guys,
Okay.
set the public hearing on the amendments.
enough.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Does anybody have anything else?
I had something, but I can't remember, so we just got track.
Write it down.
I think I did, I just can't read.
Well,
I would like us to take a serious look at the meeting time in, 60 days or so, just to see if we're making it work. I mean, I we try to be sensitive to everybody, but I kind of feel like, yeah, I just want to be sensitive to all members. Well, Rob had his hand up first, sorry.
I raised at the beginning and now it's probably a bit moot, but I just like to see us get back to a more refined process, because I think that'll help with time. Having two site plans in front of us and the one has parking calculated and the one doesn't, one has a checklist and one doesn't. Noticing of meetings, the packet changing, not having revisions on meeting notes, not having revisions on master plans, like we're looking at one master plan here and the one Danielle presenting is a different one. Somehow we just need to start getting our ducks in a row on process so that we're all looking at the same thing. We're all digesting the same packet. I don't know where that went awry. Maybe I was disillusioned. Maybe I was so new and back 2 years ago, it was all out of sync and I didn't realize it. Maybe now I'm more up to speed and I realize we're out of sync. But I think that is the cause of a lot of this churn and meetings going along. If you think about, we're saying this meeting is long. Well, the meeting was long because we had a lot of comments with Supervisor Lesprince about the churn and not knowing and rumor mill. We talked about all this ad nauseum. Well, if all that went away, we'd be much more efficient.
I like what you were talking about a minute ago about the distance for the notification. I was not joking about 3 miles. I know it sounds maybe excessive. Maybe the whole township notification would be excessive or expensive or whatever the reason against it would be. I don't know. But I can see lots of scenarios where the property in between ours is bigger than 300 feet or whatever number you put on it. Or a person lives on a cul-de-sac and whatever issue is about to change is the next cul-de-sac over and it's 500 feet farther away. I mean, some of our township is, spread out, but also like very affected by what's going on 2 miles away.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't think that like 2 miles away from your, and I'm mentioning this in case I'm no longer here.
Well, you
This
should be
comes up.
here because this is why we need you, just so you know.
I mean, there are many things that happen in our township that are 2 miles away from your house that are gonna affect you every day.
Sure.
Whether you're driving past it or whether just 2 miles isn't that far away. And if we all care about our township, and I think we do, that's why we're spending time here. We need to look at everything that's happening in our township and notifications about things that are happening, on the other side of the township are still important to everyone else.
And I don't know if he realizes it or not, but I happened to do some weird property analysis recently, but a township is 6 miles on it's a square, 6 miles on an edge. So if you're in the center and you do a 3 mile radius, you're essentially notifying the whole township. So maybe he's onto something. If 3 miles is the magic, it is the whole township.
Well, unless it's on the outer edge, in which case you're notifying people in the other township.
But if you're on the alley, yeah, exactly.
But it is 6 by 6, right?
Yeah, so it's
Moral.
And I'm not sure we want people from Kentwood coming here.
well, you know what I'm saying. No matter what, she's down.
Does anybody have any other?
So we can't say 1 mile within Cascade Township. So if it was right on the edge, it would not include Kentwood.
I'm sure we could. You
Well, you
would
wouldn't
recommend doing
recommend-
that?
I would not recommend like how she described it, where you say only within 1 mile, as long as it's within Cascade Township. If you're gonna do a radius, it needs to be the radius regardless of jurisdictional boundaries.
So no radius, just Cascade Township, everybody in.
Can we say Cascade residents within, and I'm just using a number, so please
Nope,
don't.
you gotta notice it, whoever's within that period, regardless of whether or not it's within the township or not.
So we
Oh,
could, so we could go with a
wait.
minimum radius with the Boolean and 300 feet, because that's what you said, the Michigan statute, and the whole township.
We can do this later. Does anybody have anything else? Staff, anything? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.